Hello guys, welcome back to another video. And this video we will talk about determining relatedness among organisms. All life on earth evolved from a common ancestors. Biologists map how organisms are related by constructing a phylogenetic tree. In other words, a tree of life, which is the phylogenetic tree, can be constructed to illustrate when different organisms evolved and to show the relationships among different organisms. Notice that from a single point, the three domains of archaea, bacteria, and eukarya diverge and then branch repeatedly, a small branch that plants and animals, and including humans, us humans, occupy in this diagram, shows how recently these groups had their origin compared with other groups. What is a phylogenetic tree? The phylogenetic tree illustrates the pathway of evolutionary history. The pathway can be traced from the origin of life to any individual species by navigating through the evolutionary branches between the 2 points. Also by starting with a single species and tracing backward to any branch point. The organisms related to it by various degrees of closeness can be identified. A phylogeny is the evolutionary story and the relationships among a species or a group of species. It is the study of the organisms with the purpose of deriving the relationship is called systematics. Many disciplines within the study of biology contribute to understanding how past and present life evolved over time, and together they contribute to building, updating, and maintaining the tree of life. The information gathered may include data collected from fossils, from studying morphology, from the structure of body parts, or from more molecular structure, such as of amino acids in proteins or the DNA nucleotides. By considering the trees generated by different sets of data, the scientist can put together the phylogeny of species. So from now, the scientists continue to discover new species of life on Earth, as well as new character information. Thus, trees change as new data arrives. What is the classification and the final phylogeny? For it is the tool which scientists use, called a phylogenetic tree, to show evolutionary pathways, that is what I said earlier, and relationship between organisms. A phylogenetic tree is a diagram used to reflect evolutionary relationships among organisms or groups of organisms. The hierarchical classification of groups nested within inclusive groups is reflected in diagrams. The scientists consider a phylogenetic tree to be hypothesis of the evolutionary past. That is what I searched earlier, because one cannot go back through time to confirm the proposed relationship, unlike the taxonomic classification. A phylogenetic tree can be read like a map of evolutionary history, shared characteristics are used to construct phylogenetic trees. The one point where a split occurs in a tree, called a branch point, represents where a single lineage evolved into distinct new ones. Many phylogenetic trees have a single branch point at the base, representing a common ancestors of all branches in the tree. Scientists call such trees rooted, which means there is a single ancestral taxon at the base of phylogenetic tree to which all organisms represented in the diagram descend from. We will have an example, the classification levels for the domestic dog. As you can see on the picture, the group at each level is called a taxon. In plural, it is called a taxa. In other words, for the dog, Carnivora is the taxon at the order level. Canidae is the taxon at the family level, and so on and so forth. Organisms also have common name that people typically use, such as domestic dog or wolf. Each taxon name is called capitalized except per species, and the genus and species named are italicized. Scientists refer to an organism by its genus species names together, commonly called a scientific name or Latin name. The two-name system is called binomial nomenclature. The scientific name of the wolf is therefore Canis lupus. That is what I searched earlier. Recent study of the DNA of domestic dogs and wolves suggests that the domestic dog is a subspecies of the wolf, not its own species. Thus, it is given an extra name to indicate the subspecies status, Canis lupus familiaris. As you can see in the picture, also shows how taxonomic level move towards specificity. Notice how within the domain we find the dog grouped with the wildest diversity of organisms. This includes plants and other organisms that not pictured, such as fungi and protists. At each sublevel, the organisms become more similar because they are more closely related. This means that all of that members of taxon should have a common ancestors and be more closely related to each other than to members of other taxa. Recent genetic analysis and other advancements have found that some earlier taxonomic classification do not reflect actual evolutionary relationships, and therefore changes and updates must be made as new discoveries take place. Their division into archaea and bacteria came about after recognition that their large genetic differences warranted their separation into two or three fundamental branches. And that would be all for this video of determining and relatedness among organisms.